Today we're going to talk about maintaining a healthy weight for your dog. How can you tell if your dog's at a proper weight? You should be able to feel but not see your dog's ribs. Being able to feel some ribs is a sign that your pet is at a healthy weight. Also, if your pet is at a healthy weight, you should be able to see a distinct waist where the body narrows, just behind the rib cage and in front of the hindquarters when you look at him from above. When viewed from the side, your pet's abdomen should appear to be slightly tucked up behind the rib cage. If your pet has fat deposits over his back and at the base of its tail, or if he lacks a waist or an abdominal tuck, chances are that he has a weight problem. Veterinarians typically use a measurement called a body condition scale to assess whether a pet is underweight, overweight, or just right. Your veterinarian can use the scale to show you what to look for when checking your pet's weight. The Purina body condition system uses 2 simple steps to rate the state of your dog's body: visual inspection and palpation, your sense of touch. By using your senses of sight and touch, you assign your dog to one of 3 categories. Too thin means ribs and bones are clearly visible through the skin and fur, protruding bones. Ideal, feel but not see ribs and has a nice abdominal tuck. Too heavy, can grab a fistful of skin when petting your dog's rib or chest area, or the dog has no tummy tuck. The bottom line, determining the ideal weight for your dog can prolong your dog's life. Your dogs stay active longer, they stay healthier. You can add up to 1.5 years to your dog's life. It's important to serve the right amount of food to your dog on a daily basis. I know some trainers with their personal dogs, they measure out the daily allotment of that dog's food for the day. They feed them some for breakfast. They use some as training treats throughout the day. What's left is dinner for the dog. Me, I use special treats in my training sessions, so I have to determine the caloric count of these treats that I'm using and make sure it balances what they're supposed to have every day. So they may have a normal breakfast, they may get a training session throughout the day, then they might just have a very light lunch because they're at their calorie need for the day. If you need help determining the proper amount of feed for your dog or calories for their activity level, you can talk with your local pet store. Some of those workers are extremely knowledgeable about nutrition and how to balance out the calories your dog needs through the day. Of course, you can talk to your veterinarian. They can also tell you exactly what your dog needs. If your dog does need to lose some weight, of course, you are going to cut back calories and increase activities. They're just like humans. Always talk to your vet before changing your dog's diet. There is a proper measurement of old food, new food, what other foods or even food sensitivities your dog may have. All that goes into consideration. And let's face it, when you start thinking about dog food and all the varieties that are out there, it can be a little daunting. An excellent source of information for every single brand out there is dogfoodadvisor.com. They have all brands A to Z, wet food, dry food, freeze-dried food, and so on. It gives you nutritional value. It gives standard ratings according to tests that they've done. It just gives you a lot of information about the nutritional content of that food. It's my go-to site when I need to change up my dog's diet, which usually happens about every 3 bags. For those of us that love the convenience of shopping online and having food delivered to your door, you can check out chewy.com. A lot of times you can find your brand of dog food, even at a cheaper rate. Not always, but sometimes. But you do get the convenience of scheduled shipping, and you can have it delivered to your door every week or every 2 weeks. whatever you need. Can you do that on camera? Mark writes, I'm an older guy who is in fairly good physical shape. I try to jog about 3 to 5 miles every morning. My wife brought home a German Shepherd puppy for my birthday 3 months ago, and I'd like to start taking him on runs with me so that he can be my running partner. Do you have any tips for me to how far he can go and when he can start? The first consideration with puppy exercise is something called growth plates. Growth plates are soft areas that sit at the ends of the long bones in puppies and young dogs. They contain rapidly dividing cells that allow bones to become longer until the end of puberty. Growth plates gradually thin as hormonal changes approaching puberty signal the growth plates to close. In puppy, this closure is normally completed by approximately 18 months old. Giant breed puppies' growth plates tend to close later, and small breed puppies' growth plates close earlier. A dog's bones are held together with muscles, tendons, and ligaments, soft tissue. In an adult dog, if a joint experiences a stress such as bending the wrong way or rotating too much, the bones will hold firm and a soft tissue will be pulled, resulting in a sprain. In a puppy, however, his muscles, ligaments, and tendons are stronger than his growth plates. So instead of a simple sprain, his growth plate is liable to be injured. The puppy's own soft tissue can pull apart his growth plate. Unlike a sprain, injuries to the growth plate may not heal properly or not heal in time for the puppy to grow straight and strong, and can make the puppy more prone to get more injuries when he grows up. Children, can I get through this? Another consideration is that puppies don't have the cardiovascular system for endurance. Until they mature, they probably are not able to build endurance no matter how much they exercise. Self-directed play is an overriding rule for any puppy under 18 months old. The majority of his exercise should be free play, exploring and noodling around. If he shows any fatigue, flops down, or refuses to walk, you should listen to him and let him rest. Kibble trails are also a great way to tire out a puppy both mentally and physically. Remember, dogs generally don't go on long marches naturally. They tend to noodle around and stop and sniff a lot as they go. Kibble trails allow puppies to stay outside a long time and cover a lot of ground in a very natural way. I know many canine running partners, so don't fret. Your new friend will be able to accompany you. Sorry. I know many canine running partners, so don't fret. Your new friend will be able to accompany you once his growth plates close. Start off slow and pay attention to him. Watch him for signs of fatigue. Work him up slowly, just as you had to work up to those 3 to 5 miles. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Today on Let's Talk About Dogs, we're here at Neighborhood Pet Market with General Manager Kurt Kieschnick. And we're going to focus on dog food and nutrition. Kurt, tell me a little bit about Neighborhood Pet Market.
Well, first off, Neighborhood Pet Market is a satellite store of Jefferson Feed and Garden. Mm-hmm. They've been around since 1950. Mm-hmm. I think probably the thing that sets us apart is, number one, we're homegrown.
Right.
We are Louisiana owned and operated, and I think the biggest thing is we're passionate. Mm-hmm. This is what we love to do. Mm-hmm. This is our passion in life. You know, For myself, I've been in the industry for over 25 years. We have a lot of people who've got a lot of industry experience, a lot of knowledge. We spend a lot of time educating our people so that we can ask the tough questions
Right.
about allergies and about, what's best. I think that's what sets us apart.
So, Kurt, with so many choices available today, where do we even start?
It's pretty overwhelming, it really is. I get asked probably every day, what's the best dog food you have? And there is no such thing as a best dog food. There's the dog food that works best for your dog.
For your dog.
For your dog. And when you're making choices about pet food, you have to figure out what you're trying to accomplish, what your dog's nutritional needs are, what you want to spend, that type of thing. That's what you're looking for. What I tell people is kind of look, when you're looking for a pet food, kind of look at the first 5. Always flip over a bag of food, look at the ingredient deck, and you don't have to go too in-depth, but look at the first 5 ingredients. If you're comfortable with those first 5 ingredients, then try the food. See how the food works for your dog. See how your dog does on that product. Also know a little bit about the company that makes the pet food and ask people for their opinions. Read about it a little bit.
Okay, so there's many different formulas to choose from. You have puppy, you have adult through certain years, you have senior, you have weight management or health management. What is the difference, or do we really need to focus on those formulary differences?
There's certainly some benefits to that. There definitely are. It's called a life stage diet.
Okay.
When you have a puppy per se, generally when a dog is a puppy, they're developing muscle, they're developing bone structure. So their need for protein levels and fat levels are different.
Okay.
You mentioned like large breed and small breed.
Right.
People think about large dogs and think, well, I'm going to need to feed my large dog more. When actually small breeds have higher metabolisms and actually have need for more caloric intake. And with a large breed, you also, especially when they're puppies, want to really watch how much you're feeding them and how much their intake is to make sure that skeletal growth and muscle growth don't outpace one another. Then you start to talk about when your dog reaches the older stages of their life. What I always tell people is you judge a pet food by your dog. If your dog is thriving on it, then that's the right pet food for your dog.
Okay.
It may not always be the pet food that has the fanciest ingredients or has the most science behind it.
Or the prettiest package.
Or the prettiest package or the most commercials on TV. It depends on how your dog thrives on that food. It's just like us. We all have different metabolisms. Nutritionally, we all do better on certain things. And every one of us is individual, and our nutritional needs are different. Our animals are the same.
So the dogs don't fit in one pocket either.
Exactly. Yes,
Good.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As far as gourmet foods, premium foods, complete and balanced nutrition, what's the difference? What should we look for in that?
If you're a pet food nutritionist, you're going to say animals don't need ingredients. Your dog doesn't need ingredients. Your dog needs nutrients. And you want to make sure that the appropriate nutrient profile is there in your pet food.
So, Kurt, I read a lot about food allergies and just occasional allergies that dogs are suffering from. Can you explain how nutrition may be a factor in that?
Sure. That's probably the most common thing I'm asked every day. Right now, I would tell you if 10 customers come into the store, 7 of them think that their animal suffers from some type of food allergy.
7 out of 10.
7,
huh?
yeah, and that's kind of it's an estimate, but
Right.
that's what we talk about the most. That's what we talk about the most. And first off, I'm probably going to go off on a bit of a tangent here, but
Okay.
true food allergies are very, very limited. They really clinically probably make up less than 5% of what veterinarians see on a clinical level. A true food allergy is pretty rare. If it's a true food allergy, what the dog is allergic to is the molecular structure and weight of all the protein that's
Okay.
in that food. So there's basically two ways that you deal with that. One is you would do what's called a modified protein approach, where the pet food, and these are all prescription pet foods, by
Okay.
the way, will modify the protein. They'll use a hydrolyzed chicken or a Nourish 1500, and they'll break down the molecular structure in the protein so that it's below 12,800 Daltons, and then the animal doesn't recognize it as an allergen. The other concept, and it's why today when you go in, there's so much confusion. You see all these different protein sources, rabbit, kangaroo, duck. What that's about is there's another way to deal with that, where you do what's called a novel protein limited ingredient approach, where you give your animal a protein that they've never been exposed to before. Therefore, they don't recognize the molecular structure and weight of the protein, and it helps with those allergies. But allergies are a huge thing. You can have a dog that suffers from grass allergies, and if you have a dog food that has heavy grains in it, that's going to only exacerbate some of their issues.
Hence the grain-free.
Hence the grain-free.
Okay.
But that's not always a food allergy. It's lumped in there. It's a
Right.
sensitivity. So we could go on for hours when it comes to allergies. So that's why you have to really do your research when it comes to that. Know what you're looking for in a pet food to help you deal with it, and then find out if what you're really looking at is a food-related issue or if it's an environmental or something else.
Okay, so is there anything in specific that you would like the viewers to know that maybe we haven't covered today?
I think when you start to talk about nutrition, this might be a very silly answer, but a cup is a measuring cup. It's not a Mardi Gras cup. It's not a big gulp cup.
Right.
It's an 8-ounce measuring cup. And when you look at most of the dogs that I see on a daily basis, I would say that probably almost 65 to 70% of them are overweight.
Okay.
We love our animals, and here in South Louisiana, how do we show our love? We feed it.
We feed it.
And we overfeed our animals on a pretty frequent basis. And I would say from a nutritional standpoint, that's one of the things that's the easiest to take care of, as long as we are just careful about it. So that might be a silly answer, but I would say a cup is an 8-ounce measuring cup. And you know, a lot of the problems we have with our animals can be solved by just watching how much they take in.
And that is definitely good advice. Kurt, thank you
You're
so
very
much for
welcome.
your time today. And we will have all the neighborhood pet market information on the screen. And that's it on Let's Talk About Dogs interview with Kurt. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk About Dogs. Now that we've talked about separation anxiety in a previous episode, here's something that you can do to take your dog with you. This episode we've covered healthy weight, we've covered exercise for a puppy. Well, now let's talk about your adolescent, adult, and senior dog. One of my favorite places to take my dogs to exercise is my local dog park. Here at the dog park, there are many amenities that you can utilize to exercise your dog. But before we cover those, let's go over some basic rules. Dog parks are public. We recommend that no puppies under the age of 4 months. And we say that because the health of your dog is the #1 priority. Up until your dog is 4 months, they cannot get all 3 of their parvovirus shots, and they cannot get their rabies shot. Please make sure to talk to your vet. Secondly, most dog parks are off-leash dog parks. You do not want to come to a dog park and keep your dog on leash. The reason for that is all of these dogs are running around. They're free. They want to play with each other. If you keep your dog on leash and all these dogs rush up to your dog to play, your dog is going to feel cornered. So you definitely want to take them off leash. That way they have room to move, they can get away if they want to, and they can engage in the play should they choose to do so. As a dog trainer, I see this all the time when I bring my dogs to the dog park. There's usually a group of people that are huddled under one of the covers, just sitting down thinking their dogs are going to go play on their own. That's not always the case. Your dog is going to set up whatever territory that you claim. So if you get to a dog park and you park your real estate in a certain spot, well, your dog is going to set up a territory and think that they have to defend that territory and you. So please, take advantage of the dog park and everything it has to offer. Most of them have a walking trail. You can get your exercise in while your dog is running around and playing with all the other dogs, and your dog will come back and check on you quite frequently. Most dog parks have two separate categories. There is a section for your smaller dogs. If you have a Yorkie or a Papillion or anything of the smaller nature, you can utilize the small section. That way you don't have to worry about your dog getting run over by all these big German Shepherds and bigger breed dogs. One of the things some of the local dog parks will have to offer is an agility course for your dog. Now, we're not talking competition level or anything like that, but just something that will keep your dog mentally and emotionally engaged. You have tunnels they can run through. And Corinne, come here. Corinne, go. Good girl. As simple as that. Keep their mental focus. They're still doing obedience. They're still focused on you. And y'all get to have great fun. Corinne, come. Over. Good girl. Come, jump, jump. Good girl. Corinne, come here, jump. Corinne, jump. Good girl. And one thing I definitely want to point out at the dog park, clean up after your dog. We've told you already that Dalton has hip dysplasia and that he was hit by a car, so he has a bad leg. But he can still get his exercise in. Swimming is one of the best exercises for his legs and hips because it's non-impact and it really gives him the workout that he needs. Not to mention, at a recent vet visit, we found out that he needs to lose at least 8 pounds. So how are we gonna do this? In the lake, for the most part. It's also good if you want to train a retriever on dock diving, retrieving a ball out the lake. You want to train them to retrieve a duck if you go duck hunting. Start off at a lake at a dog park. Teach your puppy how to jump and go get that ball. And don't worry about your dog getting dirty. This is the one place that your dog needs to be able to be a dog. They don't have to worry about the commands at home. Get off the couch, get off the bed. Let's brush them, let's stay clean. Let them be them here. There's always a cleaning station out front. You can wash them before you put them in the car. Just bring a towel with you. Well, folks, that's it for this episode. Until next time, keep talking about dogs.